One of the first signs I learned to read as a child was on our farm in Rapides Parish. It read, "Shut the gate." It seems to me in my waning years that there is a very basic kind of wisdom involved in knowing how and when to shut the gate behind us. To leave the past in the past so we can move into the future with as little baggage as possible. As we move along, there may be some gates we need to shut. First of all, there is the gate of disappointment. All of us experience disappointments in one way or another. Sometimes it is only something small that seems for a while larger than it really is. Other times it may be a major disappointment, such as an unfavorable diagnosis from the doctor, a job opportunity that does not work out, the death of someone close, something for which we are unprepared and we are emotionally vulnerable. There is no way we can escape from having these experiences. One of the basic facts of life is that things change and time moves on. Some seem to live by nourishing regrets of the past. They seem to almost enjoy repeating and numbering what they remember like a litany. There is an unforgettable image that Charles Dickens creates in his novel Great Expectations. One of his characters is Miss Havisham, who some 25 years before had been jilted by the only man she ever loved. The letter came at 20 minutes before 9, while she was putting on her wedding dress. Something died inside of her. She stopped all the clocks at 20 before 9, sealed every window in the house, and never took off her wedding dress. There she sat, while her world wasted and withered away. We want to hang on to what we have lost. For a time, this might be natural and healthy. To hurt and grieve is part of being human. But the time comes when we have to shut the gate and move on. What we need is not the power to forget, but to remember constructively, to use our memories not to force us to live in the past, but to free us to learn from the past, live in the present, and for the future. Next, it is a good idea to shut the gate on our resentments. We all know what it is to deal with feelings of having been wronged or treated unfairly. Some have the tendency to take these feelings, collect them and refuse to let them go. They become what can be called injustice collectors. In a former church I served not far from here, a man took me aside shortly after I arrived and told me about how a former minister failed to greet him at a social gathering. He explained the incident with such vividness and emotion that I thought it had just happened. But it turned out to be over 15 years before. Think about that for a few seconds. Not more than a few seconds, because you'll quit listening to me. Think about that for a few moments. Carrying that grudge and resentment over all those years. I recall the words of a heart specialist who warned his patients of getting agitated and angry. I have a very, very short fuse. Those who was here where I served 38 plus years know that. You just haven't held it against me. He said, the cardiologist, if you want to live longer, you have to remember that when you tell someone where to get off, you get off there too. I was leading a discussion group, and the people were sharing a variety of insights that had helped them. Now, if I were wanting to impress you this morning, the group I was leading was at Christ Church, Oxford, my old Oxford College. The thing that stood out to me about that discussion group was the man who said, the most important insight I have gained is that most people are doing about the best they can under the circumstances. Let me read that again. The most important insight I have gained is that most people are doing about the best they can under the circumstances. He then shared how much that perspective released him from some of the bitterness and resentments he had stored up. He said, it was as though a big burden had been lifted from my shoulders. After the discussion group, a man came up to me and said, do you know who that squanty little man was? Oh, I said, I have no idea, but I was impressed with what he said. He's a Nobel Prize winner in physics. A man and woman were pumping uphill on a bicycle built for two. The husband in front and the wife in back. They were both breathing hard. When they got to the top, the nearly exhausted man said, boy, what a hill. It was steeper than I thought. The wife replied, if I hadn't kept the brake on to keep us from going back hill, it would have been even worse. Finally, we have the opportunity to shut the gate on past guilt. This is a tricky thing to deal with. We have all had legitimate reasons to feel remorse or regret over something we should not have done or something left undone. The prayer book has it right, and we'll say it. We'll say it in a few minutes. That means if I could stop doing what I'm enjoying doing this morning. Guilt and resentment are natural reactions in life that we must handle from time to time. It serves a useful purpose if it helps us get in touch with ways we can grow and prevent the same mistakes from happening again. Guilt becomes a liability if it stays on, burdens us down, and affects our forward momentum. In an important book, which is very old by now, entitled Between Parent and Teenager, the psychiatrist quotes a letter from a young girl to her parents. I celebrated my 18th birthday last week. I still have many unresolved problems, but I feel it is never too late with people. I don't want to make verbal apologies for my past behavior. I don't believe that an apology is honest. Change is more rewarding. I like that attitude. She is in touch with her problems and realizes she has made mistakes and is sorry for them. But she also is ready to move on to a new future. I believe, and the older I get, the less I believe about anything. But I do believe God is not interested in making us pay for our past mistakes. He is concerned about our finding new life and beginning again. If God is interested in anything, she is interested in our futures.